So domestically, we have some serious problems with corruption in the United States government, okay? We have corruption at all levels, federal, state, local. We have challengers around the world that do not want to see the American Republic, this constitutional republic, this beautiful experiment in democracy, continue.
The war that we're waging is undercover. Like it's totally hidden to the majority of the people. China has so expertly convinced Americans that they're not the enemy.
If you look at how China is set up now, it's really what I would call more of a technocracy, right? It's where technocracy fundamentally, it's those who have control over the technology can then control the populace, right? The Constitution says the government can't censor you. Big tech is working with government to censor you, which again is fascism. So the Constitution is set up to protect us from fascism.
My primary main concern right now is the speed at which the federal government has determined that they do not care about any of your rights. They're determined to solidify power under a socialist, then communist system.
It's just an incredible geopolitical struggle that's going on, more of a shadow war between these powers. Superpowers of this world aren't even using their proxy armies anymore. They're now migrating into using, we could say, maybe biological agents to force their agendas. We look at the way the coronavirus pandemic evolved over the past year and a half. My gosh, how convenient was that to the powers that be, not just the Communist Party of China, but say the deep state around the world, the multinational shadow government complex. They were able to use that coronavirus as a justification to bring forth all of these different, I guess, rules and regulations with elections, all the mail-in voting. We the people are getting screwed in the process.
Under the guise of the vaccine passports, the digital IDs, that these things become something that will then allow them to bring their technocracy, their control into America.
Once big government is in your life, it's hard for them to take back their powers, especially after $4 trillion has been spent on it. So I think big government and the surveillance state, which is emerging not only in America but in China, is our biggest threat moving forward, and it's a direct consequence of big spending, big government, and COVID.
It's disturbing to see that Americans would so willingly allow themselves to be manipulated and controlled.
How is this not on every TV station for 24 hours? How is this information not running? If everybody knew this stuff, if everybody had eyes on the things that I'm looking at right now, I think we'd all be in agreement.
The media controls the narrative in many ways, and the media is feeding millions of Americans fake stories, fake information out there.
And even the propaganda techniques that was being seen during Nazi Germany, it's literally the same thing we're seeing now in our mainstream media with the repetition of the false statements. Just because a dozen people are saying it doesn't mean they're all correct.
They own every means of indoctrination and communication and technology, but we own the truth. What that means is that they can hit 1 million people at once with their lies. We have to be 1 million people telling the truth to one person at a time.
The fact that we have not done a good job of educating our kids, now we're indoctrinating our kids because the left has taken over academia. That's why we find ourselves where we are right now.
Well, it feels like we still have our freedoms. At a certain point, it might just flip. And all of a sudden, before you know it, it's like they've got enough of their structure in place that it no longer matters if we want to allow it or not because it can't be removed.
As Americans start to open their eyes and do research, these dots start to add up. And yes, the Constitution is being dismantled, it's being destroyed, we're losing our rights.
It's the government at the federal level, their desire to destroy the Constitution and institute a socialist form of government and go down the road that has destroyed nations and people for years. Anytime someone sees the consequences of socialism, they only live with regret. So let's prevent it.
This is war. And it's a war fought by other means, but every war has been fought differently. Don't make the mistake of the fact that it looks different means it's any less of a war. And so once you've acknowledged that this is war and you're gonna have to make sacrifices, the truth is the sacrifices we're being asked to make are minimal compared to any other warrior in human history.
We're in a nightmare currently, for sure. We are in a communist socialist induced nightmare. If we didn't speak the truth to power, we would be in a world of hurt, but we aren't going to let that happen in this republic.